Did you know that something as ordinary as your bedtime snack could quietly trigger a heart attack while you sleep, without warning, without pain, and without a second chance? It sounds impossible, doesn't it? You eat a little something before bed to help you sleep, maybe a piece of cheese, a few crackers, or a warm cookie. It feels harmless, comforting even. But for millions of older adults in America, this simple routine could be far more dangerous than anyone realizes. Let me tell you a story that still breaks hearts in the small town of Grand Rapids, Michigan. George Thompson was 78, a proud grandfather, retired Air Force mechanic, and one of the most active men in his neighborhood. He walked 2 miles every morning, kept up with all his doctor's appointments, and even helped his neighbors shovel snow every winter. George believed he was doing everything right for his health, and by most accounts, he was. But every night around 9 p.m., George had a ritual. He'd pour himself a glass of milk, grab a few slices of deli meat from the fridge, and sit down with his crossword puzzle. It was his way to wind down, something he'd done for decades. Then one morning, George didn't wake up. His daughter Melissa came by to bring him coffee, something they did every Friday morning. But when she opened the front door, the silence in the house was deafening. George was still in his recliner, crossword on his lap, and his heart had stopped sometime in the night. The autopsy revealed no signs of chronic illness, no blocked arteries, no long-standing heart disease. The cardiologist told the family something that stunned them. George's evening snack had likely triggered a cascade of stress on his cardiovascular system, right as his body was supposed to be resting. The high sodium in the deli meat, the saturated fats, and the timing of the meal had all worked together to create a perfect storm inside his body, and George never knew. This video might be difficult to hear, but it could save your life, or the life of someone you love. Because George is not alone. Thousands of older adults suffer silent cardiac events during sleep each year, many caused by the foods they eat just hours before bed. So if you're over 65 or you care for someone who is, I urge you to watch closely. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 8 most dangerous foods older adults should never eat before bedtime. One of them is likely sitting in your kitchen right now. And just like George, you might think it's harmless until it's too late. Let's begin with the first one. 1. Processed cheese and salty dairy products. George wasn't alone in his nightly ritual. Across the country, many older adults reach for a small slice of processed cheese or a handful of cheesy crackers before bed. Something quick, familiar, and satisfying. It doesn't feel like a dangerous choice. In fact, it often feels comforting, like a little reward at the end of a long day. But for seniors, especially those over 65, the body doesn't process sodium and saturated fat the way it used to. The kidneys slow down, blood vessels stiffen, and the heart becomes more sensitive to pressure changes that used to be manageable. What might have been harmless at 40 becomes risky at 70. Let me tell you about Joyce, a 72-year-old retired librarian from Ohio. Every night just before turning in, she'd nibble on a few crackers with a square of processed cheese, something she'd done since her working days. But over time, she began waking up at night gasping for air. Her doctor initially thought it was anxiety or perhaps mild sleep apnea, but a nighttime blood pressure monitor told a different story. Her blood pressure was spiking between midnight and 3 a.m., putting serious strain on her heart. When they looked closer at her diet, the culprit was clear. The combination of high sodium, heavily processed cheese, and her age-related changes in circulation were causing dangerous fluid retention. That pressure was building silently while she slept. Within 2 weeks of removing that small evening snack, her symptoms vanished. Her blood pressure normalized. No more breathless nights. If this sounds like your routine, you are not alone, and you're not to blame. These foods are marketed as convenient, comforting, even healthy. But for an aging heart, the sodium, preservatives, and saturated fats can become a recipe for overnight disaster. Instead, consider gentler choices. a few unsalted almonds, a slice of fresh, low-sodium mozzarella, or even a small banana. Foods that nourish without stressing your heart. Because that quiet moment before bed shouldn't come with hidden danger. It should bring peace. 2. Sugary cereals and desserts. It's easy to think that a small treat before bed, maybe a sweet cereal, a cookie, or a slice of pie, is just a harmless way to end the day. For many older adults, it's a familiar comfort, especially after dinner when cravings tend to creep in. But here's the hidden danger most people don't realize. As we age, the body becomes far less efficient at handling sudden spikes in blood sugar. What used to be a minor fluctuation in your 40s can become a serious threat to your heart and brain by the time you reach your 60s and beyond. Take Harold, for example. He's 74 and lives in Tallahassee, Florida. A former high school coach, Harold stayed active well into retirement and thought he was doing everything right. But he had one habit he never questioned. Every night, just before bed, he'd pour himself a bowl of sweetened cereal, sit in his recliner, and watch the evening news. Then the nighttime episodes began. He'd wake up with his heart racing, drenched in sweat, feeling like he was having a panic attack. His doctor ran tests, checked his heart, even evaluated him for anxiety. But the real answer came from a continuous glucose monitor. Harold's blood sugar was spiking within an hour of eating, then crashing dangerously low around 3 a.m., a roller coaster that was stressing his heart and robbing him of restful sleep. That bowl of cereal, seemingly harmless, had become a nightly threat. After switching to a bedtime snack that was low in sugar and high in stable nutrients, like a small apple with almond butter, Harold's blood sugar stopped crashing and the frightening symptoms disappeared. If you've ever experienced restless nights, sudden awakenings, or a racing heartbeat in the early hours, your bedtime snack could be playing a bigger role than you think. Sugar doesn't just feed cravings, it stirs up instability when your body needs peace. You deserve calm, steady rest, and your heart deserves better fuel. 3. Processed meats. The silent killer after dark. We've all done it. A few slices of salami on a cracker, a piece of leftover sausage, or even a quick hot dog before bed. It's easy, it's flavorful, and it feels harmless. But for older adults, this bedtime choice may be the most dangerous of all. Let me introduce you to Frank Delaney. He was 76, a proud Army veteran from Springfield, Missouri. Frank loved watching the late news every night. His ritual was simple: a couple of slices of cold-cut ham or salami, a little cheese, and a soda. It brought him comfort, routine, familiarity. Then one night, Frank never woke up. His wife, Linda, found him still in his chair. At first, doctors assumed a natural cause, but the medical examiner's report told a different story. A fatal heart attack brought on by a surge in cardiovascular inflammation, directly linked to the high levels of sodium nitrates in the processed meat he'd consumed just hours earlier. You see, processed meats like bacon, ham, hot dogs, and salami are preserved with nitrates, chemicals that help keep the meat looking fresh and tasting salty. But inside the body, those nitrates turn into nitrosamines, compounds that trigger inflammation, oxidative stress, and blood vessel constriction. It's a dangerous mix, especially during sleep when your heart is supposed to be resting. Dr. Michael Henderson, a cardiologist from the Cleveland Clinic, explains, nitrate-heavy processed meats cause a delayed storm in the cardiovascular system, peaking during the night and early morning hours. For seniors, that stress can be fatal. Frank's story isn't rare. In fact, studies from Johns Hopkins Medicine have shown a direct link between nighttime consumption of processed meats and increased risk of nocturnal heart attacks in people over 65. But the good news? This is preventable. If you enjoy a protein-rich snack before bed, opt for safer choices: a hard-boiled egg, a slice of plain roasted turkey, or a small handful of unsalted nuts. These offer nourishment without putting dangerous pressure on your heart. because you deserve more mornings, more sunrises, more time. Don't let something as small as a slice of salami steal that from you. Or spicy food. The hidden heat that can hurt your heart. For many of us, spice brings comfort. A dash of hot sauce on dinner. A few jalapenos with a late-night snack. It wakes up the taste buds, brings back memories of family meals and favorite recipes. But what if that heat is quietly turning into harm after dark? Patricia Moore, 68, from Phoenix, Arizona, always loved bold flavors. Her favorite bedtime treat? Leftover spicy tacos from dinner. It helped me relax, she said. It felt like a little joy at the end of the day. Until the night it didn't. She woke up gasping, her chest tight, heart pounding. Her husband called 911, thinking it was a heart attack. At the hospital, the doctor explained it was severe acid reflux, but it had triggered such intense chest pressure that her heart responded with real distress. This isn't rare. As we age, the muscles that control digestion slow down. Spicy foods, especially when eaten within 2 to 3 hours of bedtime, can trigger acid reflux, which doesn't just burn your throat, it can stimulate the vagus nerve, the same nerve that controls your heart rate. That means your digestive discomfort can directly affect your heart. Dr. Nathaniel Green, a gastroenterologist at a senior care center in California, explains it this way. The inflammation caused by spicy food rises during sleep. For seniors, it doesn't just disturb rest. It can send signals that mimic or even trigger a cardiac event. Patricia's doctor told her one more episode like that, and she might not wake up next time. So she made the change. No more spicy foods after 6 p.m. Instead, she opts for gentle flavors, roasted vegetables with herbs, or a light soup with chamomile tea. Her sleep improved. The pressure in her chest disappeared. If you love spice, you don't have to give it up entirely. Just give your body time. Let it digest before bedtime. Choose flavor without fire, because your heart should be resting at night, not reacting to something you ate. If this video gave you even a small moment of clarity or concern, let it also give you hope. Hope that with just a few small changes, you can protect your heart and wake up stronger each morning. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Just write hope if you believe it's never too late to take better care of yourself and those you love. 5. Alcoholic beverages, the nightcap that silently strains your heart. A glass of wine before bed. A small nightcap to help you sleep. It's a habit many older adults have picked up over the years. After all, it feels relaxing. It takes the edge off. It feels like it helps. But what if that drink is quietly working against your body while you rest? Let me tell you about Howard Ellis, a 73-year-old retired accountant from Oregon. Every evening after dinner, he'd pour himself 2 fingers of whiskey. It was his way to unwind, to mark the end of the day. He never saw it as a risk until his wife noticed something troubling. Howard had started snoring louder. Then came the pauses, long stretches where he didn't seem to be breathing. One night she timed it. He went 23 seconds without a breath. He brushed it off as just getting older. But a sleep study told a different story. Howard had severe sleep apnea, and it was 3 times worse on nights he drank alcohol. The doctors explained that alcohol relaxed the muscles in his throat so much, his airway would partially collapse while he slept. His oxygen levels dropped as low as 83%. Dr. Melissa Tan, a sleep medicine specialist at Stanford, puts it simply, alcohol may make you feel sleepy, but it disrupts your breathing, lowers your oxygen saturation, and increases the heart's workload throughout the night. For seniors, this can mean stroke, heart failure, or even sudden cardiac arrest during sleep. Howard was shocked. That innocent drink had been making his heart work harder while the rest of his body was trying to recover. He switched to tart cherry juice, known to naturally support melatonin levels, and found he not only slept better, but breathed better too. If you enjoy a drink in the evening, consider moving it earlier, at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. Or try herbal teas like chamomile or lemon balm. They calm the body without draining the oxygen from your blood, because a restful night shouldn't come at the cost of your next morning. 6. Caffeine, the midnight spark your heart doesn't need. Most of us think of caffeine as a morning companion. A cup of coffee to start the day, a bite of dark chocolate as a little treat. But for many older adults, caffeine isn't just a morning thing. It sneaks into the evening without much thought. And that's where the trouble begins. Meredith Lane, age 70, had always loved her evening square of dark chocolate. It helped me feel calm, she said, like a sweet little hug before bed. And she wasn't a coffee drinker, so she never considered caffeine a concern. But then came the night she couldn't explain. I'd wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, heart pounding, like I'd run up a hill, Meredith recalls. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't dreaming. It just happened. Her doctor ordered a 24-hour heart monitor. The results were clear. Her heart rate and blood pressure were spiking in the early hours, disrupting her natural sleep rhythm and putting silent strain on her cardiovascular system. The surprising culprit? The caffeine in her evening chocolate. Dr. Charles Reed, a sleep specialist from Harvard Medical School, explains, caffeine has a half-life of up to 7 hours, meaning even if you consume it in the afternoon or early evening, it can still be in your system come midnight. In older adults, this disrupts the natural drop in heart rate and blood pressure that should occur during deep sleep. Even a small amount, like the 30 to 60 milligrams found in one serving of dark chocolate, can be enough to raise nighttime cortisol, disturb heart rhythm, and keep the nervous system on high alert when it should be resting. Meredith made a simple switch: no chocolate after 4 p.m. and herbal tea instead of sweet snacks. Within a week, her nighttime heart palpitations stopped completely. So if you're over 65 and still reaching for a little caffeine at night, whether in chocolate, tea, or even decaf coffee, which still contains some caffeine, your heart may be paying the price in the hours you least expect. Let your body sleep the way it was meant to, in peace, in rhythm, without a silent jolt in the dark. 7. Fried food, the crunch that inflames your heart at night. We all have our favorites: crispy fried chicken, golden French fries, onion rings hot from the pan. The crunch, the flavor. It brings back memories of family picnics, Sunday dinners, and simpler times. But for older adults, what happens after the crunch is what matters most. Gregory Miles, age 69, was a proud Texan with a love for comfort food. Every Friday, he treated himself to fried chicken for dinner, just like his mother used to make. He felt fine, never had high blood pressure, no history of heart disease. But one Friday night, everything changed. He went to bed feeling full and satisfied. Hours later, his wife woke to the sound of him gasping for air. He was rushed to the ER with what doctors diagnosed as a mild heart attack. The cardiologist didn't find clogged arteries or a chronic condition. Instead, he pointed to something less obvious: inflammation. Dr. Stephen Nissen from the Cleveland Clinic explains, fried foods create an inflammatory surge in the bloodstream, especially high in saturated fats. In seniors, this inflammation tends to spike during nighttime hours, when the body is supposed to be recovering. That's when it's most dangerous. When we're asleep, our immune system goes into repair mode. But heavy, greasy meals, especially within 3 hours of bedtime, send the body a mixed signal. Instead of resting, it shifts into high alert. C-reactive proteins, inflammation markers rise. Blood becomes thicker, and if there's even minor plaque buildup, it increases the risk of rupture or heart strain. Gregory never made that Friday mistake again. He switched to oven-baked chicken with herbs and a side of steamed vegetables. Still flavorful, still comforting, but far gentler on his heart. If you love that satisfying crunch, try air popped popcorn with a sprinkle of olive oil or lightly toasted nuts. Your body, especially your heart, deserves peace at night, not pressure, because the real comfort comes from waking up healthy the next morning. 8. High-sodium packaged snacks, the crunch that can spike your blood pressure while you sleep. Sometimes it's just a few crackers or a small handful of potato chips. While watching the evening news, it's late, you're not hungry, just craving something salty, and you think, what harm could it do? For older adults, especially over age 65, that innocent snack may be setting off a silent alarm inside your body. Deborah Allen, a 75-year-old retired nurse from Illinois, never missed her bedtime snack. Just a few cheese crackers, she'd say with a smile. They helped me sleep. But after a routine checkup, her doctor suggested overnight blood pressure monitoring, just to be cautious. The results left everyone stunned. Between 2 and 4 a.m., Deborah's blood pressure was spiking to dangerously high levels, well above 160/100, a range that puts older adults at serious risk for stroke. The culprit wasn't her medications or her stress levels. It was her sodium-loaded snack, right before bed. Dr. Wilbur DeRono, a geriatric cardiologist, explains, during the night, the body's natural blood pressure regulation weakens. If you load the system with sodium before bedtime, it can tip you into hypertensive territory when your body is least able to respond. The effect is especially severe in seniors, whose kidneys process sodium more slowly. Salt causes the body to retain fluid, increases blood volume, and puts extra strain on arteries, all while the heart is supposed to be emptying. Deborah made one simple change. She swapped her crackers for fresh cucumber slices and unsalted popcorn. Within days, her nighttime blood pressure readings dropped back to a safe range, and the headaches and fatigue she had chalked up to aging disappeared. So the next time you reach for something salty after dinner, pause. Ask yourself, is it worth the risk? Because peace at night isn't just about sleep. It's about giving your heart and blood vessels a break too. You've worked hard to protect your health. Don't let a handful of chips undo that effort. Sometimes it's not the big choices that shape our health, but the small, quiet ones we make each night. A snack, a sip, a moment of comfort before bed. We rarely think twice about them. But as the years go by, our bodies speak more softly and the risks hide in familiar places. You've spent a lifetime caring for others, showing up for family, giving your best. Now it's time to listen inward, to protect the heart that has carried you through it all. Because waking up each morning, healthy and present, is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself and to those who still need you. Let this be a gentle reminder. The choices we make tonight can shape the mornings we still get to share. Not out of fear, but out of love. For life, for memory, for one more sunrise. So take care of your evenings. They hold the promise of tomorrow. If this message touched your heart or made you think differently about your nightly habits, please give this video a like. It helps us reach more people who need this information. Feel free to share it with someone you care about. You never know whose life it might quietly protect. And in the comments, just type hope if you believe that it's never too late to start caring for your health, one gentle choice at a time.